The vast darkness of space stretched endlessly in all directions, filled with countless stars that had watched over the universe for billions of years. Among these ancient lights, something new moved with deadly purpose. 847. Massive warships glided through the void like hungry sharks, their dark hulls reflecting the distant starlight as they approached their target. Admiral Kethver stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Void Crusher, and gazed at the tactical display. Before him, the blue dot representing the third planet of this unremarkable solar system pulsed gently on his screen. Earth, the humans called it. Such a simple name for what would soon become another conquered world in the growing Zephyrian Empire. The Admiral's 4 arms moved across his control panel with practiced ease as he reviewed the intelligence reports one final time. The humans had barely ventured beyond their own moon. Their weapons were primitive projectile launchers and crude chemical explosives. Their largest ships could barely carry a few dozen crew members. They had no energy shields, no plasma cannons, and certainly no technology that could threaten a force like his. Kethver had conquered 17 star systems in the past decade. Each victory had been easier than the last, as word of Zephyrian might spread throughout the galaxy. Most species surrendered immediately when they saw his fleet approaching. Those foolish enough to resist or quickly crushed, their worlds stripped of resources and their populations enslaved. This would be no different, Commander. Jake Morrison sat in the command center of Luna Station, Earth's primary defensive outpost. Built into the crater walls of the moon's far side, the circular room hummed with quiet activity as dozens of technicians monitored screens, filled with data streams and sensor readings. The massive main display showed the approaching alien fleet as a cloud of red dots moving steadily toward the inner solar system. Jake had been preparing for this moment for 5 long years, ever since Earth's deep space sensors had first detected signs of an expanding alien empire in nearby star systems. He was 42 years old, a former Navy commander who had been recruited into the newly formed Terran Defense Force when humanity realized they were not alone in the universe. His weathered face showed no emotion as he watched the alien formation adjust course for a direct approach to Earth. They were making no attempt at stealth or deception. They simply flew straight toward humanity's home world like they owned the entire galaxy. The communication officer, Lieutenant Sarah Brooks, looked up from her station with concern in her young eyes. She had only been assigned to Luna Station 6 months ago, fresh from the academy on Earth. This was her first real crisis, and Jake could see her hands trembling slightly as she worked. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet," she reported, her voice steady despite her obvious nervousness. "They're demanding our immediate surrender." Jake nodded calmly and activated his microphone. He had practiced this speech many times, but never thought he would actually need to deliver it. "This is Commander Morrison of the Terran Defense Force. You are entering restricted space. Turn back now, or face the consequences." The response came through their universal translator system, a piece of technology that humanity had developed after intercepting alien communications over the past few years. The voice that emerged from the speakers was cold and filled with arrogance. "Primitive humans, we are the Zephyrian Empire. We have conquered worlds across 17 star systems. Your pathetic species has 2 choices. Surrender your planet now, and your deaths will be swift, or resist us and watch your entire civilization burn slowly while we take what we want." Dr. Lisa Grant worked quietly in the research facility built deep beneath Luna Station's main structure. The underground complex stretched for miles in every direction, filled with the most advanced technology humanity had ever created. She moved between banks of quantum processors and field generators, checking readings and making final adjustments to systems that had taken her entire career to develop. Lisa was 38 years old, a brilliant physicist who had been recruited. From MIT, when the government realized that conventional weapons would never be enough to defend Earth against advanced alien civilizations. She had spent the last 5 years working 18-hour days, pushing the boundaries of human science far beyond anything previously thought possible. The quantum field network was her masterpiece, a web of energy that stretched throughout the entire solar system. Hundreds of generators hidden in asteroids, on moons, and in deep space stations created an invisible barrier that could manipulate space and time itself. The aliens approaching Earth had no idea they were flying directly into the most sophisticated trap ever conceived. All systems showing green across the board, she reported to Commander Morrison through their secure communication link. The network is fully operational and ready for activation on your command. Above ground, Jake Morrison opened another communication channel to the alien fleet. His voice remained calm and professional, showing no sign of the tension he felt. Inside, final warning, Zephyrian fleet. Withdraw immediately, or you will be destroyed. The alien admiral's laughter echoed through the communication system like the sound of breaking glass. You dare threaten us, human? We will show you what happens to species that do not know their place in the galaxy. All ships, prepare weapons. Target the third planet and fire at will. Jake's finger moved to hover over a single red button built into his command console. The button was connected directly to Dr. Grant's quantum field network, waiting to unleash forces that the approaching aliens could not even imagine existed. Captain Steve Collins piloted his stealth reconnaissance ship through the asteroid belt. His vessel invisible to alien sensors thanks to advanced cloaking technology. He had been monitoring the Zephyrian fleet's approach for the past 3 days, gathering intelligence and waiting for the moment when humanity would reveal its true capabilities. Steve was a veteran pilot who had served with Jake Morrison in the Old Navy before they were both recruited into the Terran Defense Force. His ship, the Shadowhawk, was one of only 12 stealth vessels in humanity's small but advanced fleet. Each ship was equipped with sensors capable of detecting alien technology and weapons that could strike without warning. Jake, I'm seeing massive energy buildups across their entire fleet, Steve reported from his hidden position. They're charging plasma cannons and preparing to bombard Earth. Whatever you're going to do, you better do it fast. The Zephyrian warships began to glow with deadly energy as their weapons powered up. Hundreds of plasma cannons and particle beam arrays focused on the small blue world that hung defenseless before them. In their arrogance, they never noticed the subtle distortions in space around their fleet, or the way starlight seemed to bend slightly in certain areas. Admiral Kethvar gave the order that would seal his fleet's fate. Fire. The void of space erupted in brilliant light as 847 alien warships fired their weapons simultaneously. Plasma beams thick as city blocks streaked toward Earth, each one carrying enough energy to level entire continents. Particle cannons discharged streams of accelerated matter that could punch through solid rock like it was paper. The combined firepower of the Zephyrian fleet lit up the darkness between planets with deadly rainbow colors. Admiral Kethvar watched from his flagship's bridge as the devastating barrage raced toward the blue world. He had seen this sight many times before during his conquest of other star systems. No planetary defense could withstand such overwhelming force. The humans would watch their home burn and realize too late that resistance was futile, but something was wrong. The energy beams that should have struck Earth's atmosphere simply vanished. One moment they were racing through space at the speed of light, and the next they were gone as if they had never existed. Where the weapon's fire should have hit, there was only empty space that seemed to ripple slightly like water, disturbed by a gentle breeze. Commander Jake Morrison sat calmly in his command chair on Luna Station, watching the alien weapons disappear into the quantum field network that Dr. Lisa Grant had spent 5 years perfecting. Each beam of energy was being absorbed by invisible field generators hidden throughout the asteroid belt, their power stored in massive capacitors buried deep within the moon itself. All weapons fire absorbed successfully, Dr. Grant reported, from her underground laboratory. Energy levels are climbing rapidly. The capacitors are at 15% and rising. Jake nodded and opened a communication channel to Captain Steve Collins, whose stealth ship remained hidden among the asteroids. "Steve, what are you seeing out there?" Steve's voice crackled through the secure channel as he maneuvered his ship for a better view of the alien fleet. "They're confused as hell, Jake. The smaller ships are starting to break formation. Some of them are scanning for targets they can actually hit." The Zephyrian fleet continued firing, their weapons creating a continuous stream of deadly energy that vanished harmlessly into the quantum field network. Admiral Kethver's 4 arms moved frantically across his control panels as he tried to understand what was happening. "All vessels, increase firepower," he commanded. "Focus all weapons on the 3rd planet. Something is interfering with our targeting." Systems. The alien ships obeyed, pouring even more energy into their attack. Massive capital ships that could destroy moons fired their most powerful weapons. Smaller destroyers and cruisers added their own firepower to the barrage. The combined energy output was enough to sterilize an entire star system. All of it disappeared without leaving so much as a spark. Captain Amy Rodriguez piloted her reconnaissance ship just outside the quantum field network's boundary, carefully documenting everything for the historical record. Her vessel, the Star Dancer, was equipped with the most advanced recording equipment humanity possessed. Future generations would need to see exactly how Earth defended itself against impossible odds. "This is incredible," she whispered into her log recorder. "I'm watching the most powerful alien fleet in known space fire everything they have, and it's just vanishing into thin air." The quantum field network is working exactly as Dr. Grant predicted. Amy had been skeptical when she first heard about the project 5 years ago. The idea of creating invisible barriers in space that could absorb energy weapons sounded like science fiction. But Dr. Grant had somehow turned theory into reality, building a defensive network that covered the entire solar system. Down in her laboratory, Dr. Grant monitored dozens of screens showing energy levels throughout the network. Each quantum field generator was performing perfectly, bending space and time to redirect the alien weapons into pocket dimensions where their energy could be safely stored. The mathematics involved were so complex that only 3 people on Earth truly understood how the system worked. "Energy absorption at 30% and climbing," she reported to Commander Morrison. "The aliens are giving us more power than I ever imagined we could capture. At this rate, we'll have enough stored energy to power Earth's entire civilization for decades." But that wasn't the plan. The energy being stolen from the Zephyrian fleet would serve a much more immediate purpose. Lieutenant Danny Foster worked alongside Dr. Grant, his young hands dancing across control panels as he helped manage the quantum field network. He was only 25 years old, a brilliant engineer who had been recruited straight from college when his professors realized his potential. Most of his friends thought he worked for a computer company. They had no idea he was helping to defend humanity's future. "Dr. Grant, the field generators are starting to shift configuration," Danny reported with excitement in his voice. "The absorption network is transforming just like you designed it to." Admiral Kethver's confusion was turning to panic as his weapons continued to have no effect. His tactical officers reported that their most powerful plasma cannons were firing normally, but the energy simply vanished before reaching the target. Some of his ship captains were suggesting that the humans had developed impossible technology. "Impossible," Kethver snarled. "No species has ever mastered quantum field manipulation on this scale. Our intelligence reports show that these humans barely understand basic physics." But the evidence was right in front of him. His entire fleet was firing continuously, and none of their weapons were reaching Earth. Worse, his sensors were starting to detect strange readings in the space around. His ships, reality itself, seemed to be bending and warping in ways that his instruments couldn't properly measure. Captain Collins watched from his hidden position as space began to distort around the alien fleet. The quantum field generators were no longer just absorbing energy. They were using that stored power to create something far more dangerous. Gravity waves rippled outward from invisible sources, bending starlight and creating pockets of altered spacetime. "Jake, the field inversion is beginning," Steve reported. "I can see gravitational distortions forming around their entire fleet. Whatever Dr. Grant is planning, it's starting to happen." The Zephyrian ships found themselves surrounded by areas where physics no longer worked normally. Their engines strained against invisible forces that pulled and pushed in impossible directions. Navigation systems failed as space itself twisted. Around them, like a closing fist, Dr. Grant smiled grimly as she watched her creation transform from a defensive network into something much more deadly. The energy that the aliens had so generously provided was being focused and concentrated, turned back against them in ways they could never have imagined. "Commander Morrison," she said quietly, "the trap is ready to spring." Dr. Lisa Grant activated her wide-band transmission system, sending her voice across space on every frequency the Zephyrian fleet was using. The underground laboratory filled with the hum of powerful transmitters as her words traveled at the speed of light toward the trapped alien armada. She had waited 5 years for this moment, and her voice remained steady despite the magnitude of what was about to happen. "Attention, Zephyrian forces," she began, her scientific training keeping her tone calm and professional. "You are currently experiencing humanity's quantum absorption network. Every joule of energy you have fired at our planet has been captured and stored in our defensive grid. Your weapons are not malfunctioning. They are feeding our systems." The alien fleet's communications fell silent as her words reached them. For several long seconds, there was no response from the 847 warships that found themselves trapped in increasingly distorted space. Admiral Kethver stood frozen on his bridge, his forearms hanging motionless at his sides, as the implications of what he had just heard sank into his mind. Commander Jake Morrison watched the tactical display from Luna Station, seeing how the alien formation had become scattered and confused. Ships that had maintained perfect military precision now drifted aimlessly as their crews struggled to understand what was happening to them. The quantum field network surrounded them like an invisible cage, growing stronger with every passing moment. "Dr. Grant, energy levels are now at 60% and rising," reported Lieutenant Danny Foster from his position at the control panels. The young engineer's excitement was barely contained as he monitored the systems that were performing beyond even their most optimistic projections. "The capacitors are handling the load perfectly. We could probably absorb twice as much energy if needed." Admiral Kethver finally found his voice, though it now carried none of the arrogance that had marked his earlier communications. His words crackled through space, filled with disbelief and growing fear. "Impossible. No species in the galaxy has technology capable of manipulating quantum fields on such a massive scale. Our scientists have studied this for centuries and determined it cannot be done." Dr. Grant smiled slightly as she prepared her response. She had heard similar statements from colleagues on Earth who thought her theories were too advanced to be practical. The difference was that she had actually built what others said was impossible. "Actually, we do have such technology," she replied calmly. "We have been preparing for this day ever since our first contact protocols were established. Did you really think we would leave Earth defenseless when we knew aggressive species existed among the stars?" The truth was more complex than Dr. Grant revealed. Humanity had indeed been preparing, but not for as long as she claimed. The quantum field network had been developed in desperate secrecy over just 5 years, pushed forward by the terrifying knowledge that Earth was completely vulnerable to any advanced alien civilization. Captain Steve Collins maneuvered his stealth ship closer to the alien fleet, his advanced sensors recording everything that was happening. The gravitational distortions around the Zephyrian ships were growing stronger, and space itself seemed to ripple and bend like liquid around their hulls. Some of the smaller alien vessels were already showing signs of structural stress. "Jake, I'm reading massive gravitational anomalies throughout their entire formation," Steve reported through the secure communication channel. "Whatever Dr. Grant is doing down there, it's affecting space-time in ways I've never seen before. Some of their ships are starting to drift toward each other, as if they're caught in artificial gravity wells." Commander Morrison stood from his command chair for the first time since the crisis began. His calm demeanor had never wavered, but now there was something different in his eyes. After 5 years of preparation and worry, humanity was finally showing the galaxy what they were truly capable of. "Admiral Kethvaw," Jake said, opening a direct communication channel to the alien flagship. "You see, we learned something important long ago. The best defense is not always the biggest gun or the strongest armor. Sometimes the smartest defense is the best trap." The quantum field generators throughout the asteroid belt began shifting their configuration under Dr. Grant's careful control. What had been an absorption network designed to capture and store energy was rapidly transforming into something far more dangerous. The stored power from thousands of alien weapon discharges was being focused and concentrated into precise patterns that would reshape reality itself. Lieutenant Sarah Brooks monitored communications from her station on Luna Station, listening to the increasingly panicked chatter between alien ships. The Zephyrian crews were reporting instrument failures, navigation errors, and gravitational anomalies that their technology could not explain or counteract. "Sir, they're trying to activate their hyperspace drives," she reported to Commander Morrison. "Multiple ships are attempting to jump away from the system." Dr. Grant checked her displays and nodded with satisfaction. "That won't work. The quantum field network has created localized space-time distortions around their entire fleet. Hyperspace requires stable dimensional boundaries, which no longer exist in their vicinity. They're effectively trapped in a bubble of altered physics." Captain Amy Rodriguez continued documenting everything from her position outside the affected area. Her reconnaissance ship's sensors were recording phenomena that would revolutionize human understanding of advanced physics. The sight of an entire alien armada trapped by invisible forces was both terrifying and beautiful. "This is going into the history books," she whispered into her log recorder. "Humanity just proved that intelligence and preparation can overcome any amount of raw military power. Those aliens came here expecting to conquer a primitive species, and instead they flew straight into the most sophisticated trap ever created." Rachel Kim worked frantically at her monitoring station on Earth's surface, coordinating with the quantum field network from the planet's primary research facility. The young physicist had been Dr. Grant's student before joining the Terran Defense Force, and she understood better than most what was about to happen. "All exit vectors are sealed," she confirmed through the communication network. "The gravitational distortions have created an inescapable field around the alien fleet. Their conventional engines cannot generate enough thrust to break free, and hyperspace travel is impossible within the affected area." Admiral Kethver's voice cut through the communication channels, no longer cold and commanding, but filled with desperate pleading. "We surrender. We will withdraw our forces, can never return to this system. We acknowledge human sovereignty over this region of space." Commander Morrison's response was immediate and final. "You were given that chance, Admiral. We offered you the opportunity to withdraw peacefully. Instead, you chose to ignore our warning and attack our homeworld. Now you will learn why that was a mistake. The stored energy from the alien weapons reached 70% capacity, more than enough power to accomplish what Dr. Grant had planned. The quantum field network hummed with barely contained forces that could reshape matter and energy on a scale that defied comprehension. In her underground laboratory, Dr. Grant prepared to demonstrate exactly why humanity had earned its place among the stars, through ingenuity rather than conquest. The Zephyrian fleet found themselves trapped in an ever-tightening sphere of distorted space-time that defied everything they understood about physics. Their massive warships, designed to conquer entire star systems, drifted helplessly as invisible forces pulled and twisted at their hulls. Navigation computers failed completely as space itself bent around them in impossible ways. Admiral Kethver watched his tactical display with growing horror as ship after ship reported the same problems. Their engines were running at maximum power, but producing no movement. Their weapons had stopped firing because there were no longer any clear targets to aim at. Even their communication systems were beginning to fail as the quantum distortions interfered with their signals. Engineering reports massive gravitational stresses on the hull, his first officer announced, her voice tight with barely controlled. Panic. The ship's structure is holding for now, but these forces are beyond anything our designers ever imagined. Dr. Lisa Grant monitored the quantum field network from her underground laboratory, watching as the energy levels climbed toward the critical threshold she had calculated. The alien weapons had provided more power than she had ever dared hope for. What had started as a defensive measure was about to become the most devastating weapon humanity had ever deployed. Energy absorption at 85%, reported. Lieutenant Danny Foster, his young hands steady on the controls despite the magnitude of what they were about to unleash. All field generators are responding normally. The network is ready for final discharge on your command. Commander Jake. Morrison stood before the main tactical display on Luna Station, his weathered face illuminated by the soft glow of the screens around him. He had spent his entire military career preparing for battles that might never come. Now he found himself responsible for a decision that would echo throughout the galaxy for generations. Admiral Kethver, he said, opening one final communication. Channel to the trapped alien fleet. You came to our system believing that might makes right. You assumed that superior firepower would guarantee your victory. Today you learn that intelligence and preparation can overcome any amount of brute force. The alien admiral's response came through the distorted communication channel, his voice filled with desperation and fear. Please, we acknowledge our mistake. We will pay reparations for our aggression. Our empire will sign treaties recognizing human territory. We beg for mercy. Jake's expression remained unchanged as he considered the plea. 5 years ago, he might have been moved by such words. But he had studied the Zephyrian Empire's history of conquest. He knew about the 17 star systems they had already destroyed. He understood that mercy to aggressors only encouraged more aggression. Mercy was offered when we asked you to withdraw, Jake replied coldly. You chose to attack instead. Now you face the consequences of that choice. Captain Steve Collins watched from his hidden position as the space around the alien fleet began to glow with strange energies. His stealth ship's sensors detected massive power buildups throughout the quantum field network. Whatever Dr. Grant was preparing to do, it would make their earlier demonstration look like a gentle breeze. Jake, I'm reading energy discharges. Starting to form around their fleet, Steve reported. The quantum field generators are beginning to release the stored power, but it's not coming out as individual weapon blasts. It's forming into something unified and focused. The energy that had been stolen from thousands of alien plasma cannons and particle beams began to flow back through the network. but not as the separate attacks that had originally been fired. Dr. Grant's quantum field manipulators were combining and focusing all that power into a single, overwhelming force that would demonstrate the true price of underestimating humanity. Sergeant Bobby Chun stood at his monitoring station in the primary control facility buried deep beneath Luna Station. The young soldier had volunteered for the Terran Defense Force straight out of high school, never imagining he would witness the most important moment in human history. His job was simple: monitor the final safety systems and confirm that Earth itself would remain protected during the discharge. All safety protocols confirmed, Bobby reported to Commander Morrison. Earth's protective barriers are at maximum strength. The discharge will be directed away from our planet and focused entirely on the alien fleet. Dr. Rachel Kim worked frantically at her console on Earth's surface, coordinating with tracking stations around the globe to ensure that every detail of what was about to happen would be recorded for posterity. The data they collected would advance human understanding of quantum physics by centuries, but more importantly, it would serve as proof of what Earth could do to defend itself. All recording systems are active, she confirmed. Every sensor array in the solar system is focused on the target area. We'll have complete documentation of the quantum field discharge and its effects. Admiral Kethver made one final desperate attempt to save his fleet. All ships, emergency power to engines. Break formation and scatter. Try to escape the affected area using whatever thrust you can generate. But it was far too late for such measures. The quantum field network had created a localized region of space where the normal laws of physics no longer applied. The alien ships were trapped as surely as if they had been caught in a black hole, unable to move or escape no matter how much power they applied to their engines. Doctor Grant checked her calculations one final time, knowing that what she was about to unleash would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The amount of energy they had absorbed was staggering, enough to level continents or power entire civilizations. But today it would serve a different purpose entirely. Commander Morrison, she said quietly into her microphone, the quantum field discharge is ready. All stored energy will be released simultaneously in a focused wave that will demonstrate why humanity should never be underestimated. Jake Morrison's finger hovered over the red button that would activate the final phase of Dr. Grant's creation. Around him, the command center of Luna Station fell silent as every person present realized they were about to witness something that would be remembered for thousands of years. For Earth, Jake said simply and pressed the button. The quantum field network discharged every joule of energy it had absorbed, but not as individual weapon blasts or scattered explosions. Instead, the power flowed together into a single wave of pure destruction that warped reality itself around the Zephyrine fleet. Space twisted and folded as forces beyond imagination focused on the 847 ships that had dared to threaten humanity's home. Captain Amy Rodriguez watched in awe from her safe position outside the affected area as the wave of energy struck the alien armada. What she witnessed would haunt her dreams and inspire her hopes for the rest of her life. The wave of energy that erupted from the quantum field network was unlike anything the universe had ever witnessed. It was not fire or explosion or destruction in any conventional sense. Instead, it was pure force that rewrote the laws of physics. In a sphere of space containing the entire Zephyrian fleet, reality itself bent and twisted as the power stolen from 847 alien warships returned to claim its price. Admiral Kethver had one final moment to understand what was happening to his mighty armada. The bridge of his flagship shimmered around him as space-time itself became unstable. His instruments showed readings that were impossible, measurements that defied every scientific principle his species had discovered. Then the wave reached his ship, and Admiral Kethver simply ceased to exist. The 847 vessels of the Zephyrian fleet did not explode into debris or burn away into cosmic dust. They did not break apart or melt under intense heat. One moment they were there, massive warships bristling with weapons and armor, and in the next instant the space they had occupied was completely empty. They had been erased from existence, as if they had never been built at all. Captain Amy Rodriguez watched from her reconnaissance ship as the quantum discharge completed its work. Her sensors detected no wreckage, no energy signatures, no trace that one of the largest military fleets in galactic history had ever existed. The space where the Zephyrian armada had been was now a perfectly clean vacuum, with not even scattered atoms to mark where they had died. "My God," she whispered into her communication system, "they're just gone. Completely gone. There's nothing left at all." The aftermath was eerily quiet. Where moments before there had been the chaos of a massive fleet under attack, now there was only the peaceful darkness of empty space. Stars that had been hidden behind alien hulls became visible again. The quantum field network powered down automatically, its deadly purpose fulfilled. Leaving no trace of the technology that had just eliminated an entire invasion force, Dr. Lisa Grant sat in her underground laboratory, staring at screens that showed normal space where the alien fleet had been. Even she had not been entirely certain what would happen when so much concentrated energy was released through the quantum field manipulators. The theoretical calculations had suggested complete molecular dissolution, but seeing it happen was something else entirely. "All systems powering down normally," reported Lieutenant Danny Foster, his voice filled with awe. "The quantum field generators are returning to standby mode. Energy levels throughout the network are back to baseline. It's as if nothing ever happened. But something had happened, something that would change the course of galactic history forever." Commander Jake Morrison activated the wideband transmission system from Luna Station, sending his words across space on every known alien communication frequency. His message would reach monitoring stations throughout the galaxy within hours, carried by automated relay systems that connected hundreds of star systems. "This is Commander Morrison of the Terran Defense Force," he began, his voice calm and professional. "Today, an alien fleet entered our solar system with hostile intent. They were warned to withdraw peacefully. They chose to attack instead. Let this serve as a lesson to any species considering humanity as easy prey." Dr. Grant added her own message to the transmission, speaking as both a scientist and a defender of Earth. "This is Dr. Lisa Grant of the Terran Research Division. The fleet that just attempted to invade our system has been eliminated using our quantum field network. We are not the primitive civilization you may think we are. We are not aggressive by nature, but we are prepared to defend ourselves against any threat." Captain Steve Collins emerged from the asteroid belt, his stealth systems disengaging as he set course for Luna Station. His reconnaissance ship had recorded everything that happened, creating a complete historical record of humanity's first major victory against an alien invasion force. "Jake, the outer sensor networks are already picking up hyperspace signatures," Steve reported as he flew through space that had recently contained an entire enemy fleet. "Word is spreading fast through alien communication channels. I'm detecting ships changing course away from our system, and some species are sending what look like diplomatic signals." The news of what had happened in the Sol system traveled through the galaxy at incredible speed. Within days, every major civilization knew that the Zephyrian Empire's primary fleet had been completely destroyed by a species most had considered too primitive to worry about. The implications were staggering. Lieutenant Sarah Brooks monitored incoming communications from her station on Luna Station, translating messages that poured in from across known space. Some were offers of alliance and trade. Others were desperate pleas for humanity to share their defensive technology. Many were simply expressions of shock and disbelief. "Sir, we're receiving a formal surrender from the Zephyrian Empire," she reported to Commander Morrison. "They're offering massive reparations and requesting peace negotiations. They want to establish an embassy on Earth and sign a non-aggression treaty." Jake nodded grimly. The Zephyrian Empire had lost its primary fleet and most of its experienced commanders in a matter of seconds. Their remaining forces were scattered across 17 star systems, trying to hold together an empire that was already beginning to collapse. Dr. Rachel Kim analyzed the data streaming in from monitoring stations throughout human space. The quantum field discharge had been detected by sensors hundreds of light years away, its signature unlike anything previously recorded. Alien scientists would spend decades trying to understand what they had witnessed. The gravitational disturbances were detected as far away as the Centauri system, she reported from Earth's surface. Every species with advanced sensors knows something unprecedented happened here. The energy signature was so unique that they'll be able to identify our technology anywhere in the galaxy. That was exactly what humanity wanted. The quantum field network was more than just a weapon. It was a statement that Earth was protected by forces beyond alien comprehension. No species would dare attack humanity after seeing what had happened to the Zephyrian fleet. Captain Amy Rodriguez transmitted her complete battle record to the historical archives, ensuring that future generations would understand exactly how Earth had defended itself. Her documentation would become the most studied military record in human history, analyzed by strategists and scientists for centuries to come. "This changes everything," she said in her final log entry. "Humanity has proven that intelligence and preparation can overcome any amount of brute force. We didn't win this battle with bigger guns or stronger armor. We won it by being smarter than our enemies and using their own weapons against them." The galaxy would indeed remember what had happened in the Sol system. Species that had been planning their own invasions of Earth quietly abandoned those plans. Others began seeking alliances with humanity, hoping to gain protection under Earth's defensive umbrella. The balance of power in known space had shifted dramatically in just a few moments. But perhaps most importantly, humanity had sent a clear message to every civilization among the stars. Earth was not defenseless, and humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. They had turned physics itself into a weapon, eliminated an entire fleet without firing a single shot, and established themselves as a force to be respected and feared throughout the galaxy. The warning had been ignored, and in seconds their fleet was gone. The galaxy would never forget